I first found out just through email communication, with the chamber, trying to figure out a time and things like that. And it feels good. It always feels good to be recognized. And, the one thing I know when it comes to a role model award is it's not just me. It represents everyone who's kind of come into my life and helped me through things, and hopefully I can just pass that on.
And can we reiterate the story you said when you were growing up, female athlete-wise?
Yeah.
It's a lot different now.
Yeah, so, sorry. Growing up, there just weren't a lot of female athletes on TV. You couldn't, turn the TV on and watch a WNBA game or a college game. It just wasn't as popular as it is now. So for me, I watched basketball, of course, but it was men's basketball. And you can't really emulate a men's player the same way you might be able to a women's player. But like I said, luckily I had really strong female figures in my life, my sister and my mom, who really kind of paved the way for me and just gave me people to look up to and follow in footsteps.
Talk about the college game then. You said obviously going from high school to college is maybe the hardest jump for
Yeah.
you. How has that changed in some ways, and kind of go over that?
How has it changed?
Difficult. The jump up to college.
Yeah. Well, again, I just think the high school to college transition is difficult because you're moving away from home for the first time. You're still a kid in a lot of ways, but you're being asked to kind of balance your time and your responsibilities the same way as an adult. So it's definitely just a time, I think a period of time where you're figuring things out for yourself, kind of figuring out who you are as a person. Because once you get into the professional world, you're ready to be an adult. Now it's kind of, you're ready to be on your own, whereas in college, you're like halfway there.
Talk about, I know this is hypothetical, but how would your life be different if you didn't come to Connecticut?
If I didn't go to Connecticut, I'm sure my life would be incredibly different. I think more than anything, forget basketball for a second. Forget the championships, which are amazing, and the people I've met, amazing. It's really just the character, I think, that you build, or that UConn players build in that program, and it's obviously a testament to the coaching staff and just the way they conduct themselves, the way they expect you to conduct yourself, and the standards that are there. I think the character building part is really where I would have missed out. Basketball probably would have, it wouldn't have looked exactly the same, but hopefully it would have worked out in some capacity, in some way. I probably still would have been a professional, maybe still made the Olympic team. But I think the character part, I would really severely be lacking.
When Gina was first recruiting you, what were your expectations coming to UConn then? And do you kind of sit back, or have you been able to kind of sit back and, I've been to the Olympics this many times and all the conferences. Have you been able to do that yet?
Well, when he was first recruiting me, I think the way his style, his recruiting style, the whole coaching staff is pretty much, this is what we are, this is what we do. If you want to be a part of that, great. Let me know, kind of a thing. And there's no promises. It's never, you're going to come here and start. You're going to come here and be an All-American. It's, if you come here, you put in the hard work, we can help you achieve those kinds of goals. And I think moving forward, now that I'm older, the reflection part is definitely starting. Now that I'm at the end of my career, kind of, starting to, oh wow, I can't believe I did that, or oh, that's actually pretty cool, huh? It's starting, but I don't think any of that stuff will really hit until I'm retired.
And
So you just talked about the end of your career.
Yeah.
How does your perspective change now as you gear up to a new season? It is Olympic year. Are you looking at things differently at this time?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk to him or you?
You can talk.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, now that I'm older, it's more about kind of taking care of my body, making sure I'm healthy, making sure I'm ready. You just got to put in the work and do the little things that when you were 22, you probably didn't have to do. So when I look at my next year, I don't know when I'm going to retire. I haven't put a day on it, but I'm kind of taking it 1 year at a time. And right now, my next year is WNBA Olympics. And so everything I do, every workout I do, every training that I enter, it's with that in mind. It's getting ready for that.
not playing overseas now, is that more just the grind, or is it just...
It's not playing overseas is just a combination of things. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but essentially a part of it is the grind of it. A part of it's being away from home for that long, that length of time. And then just some other stuff with overseas that when I had to make the decision and I kind of looked at everything, it just was a no-brainer to stay home.
How's the mindset changed during the Olympic year?
The mindset during Olympic year, it's interesting. It changes because this is an Olympic year. But as WNBA players, we still have our season to focus on. So it's definitely a juggling act. In some ways, like I said, when I train, it's because I have the Olympics in my mind. But at the same time, you know, first and foremost, I'm going to be playing like 2-3 months in the WNBA before the Olympics comes. So I'm focused on that team, but then I have the Olympics in the back of my mind. It's a juggling act. It's not hard or anything, but you have to kind of just keep it balanced.
I was going to say, does it get easier from year to year because you've done it before, or is it just every
Oh,
time
yeah.
it's just...
Oh, no. Yeah. The more experience you have, I mean, anything in life, right? The more experience you have at it, the easier it's going to be. You're not going to be scared or nervous. You're going to know what to expect, and you can kind of just approach it that way.
With the overseas plays, obviously a lot of the women go over there because it's good competition, it's
Yeah.
good money. Do you ever foresee a time when women don't have to do it and they can just make a living with the WNBA?
You know, a scenario where as women basketball players or as female basketball players, we don't have to go overseas would be ideal. The problem is it's not really the competition in terms of overseas and WNBA. It's not fair. They're not on an equal playing field. In Europe, there are really no rules. So if, you know, Joe Schmo walks in and wants to give you $1 million to play, he can do it. There's no rules. Whereas the WNBA has rules, there's marketing agreements and PR stuff and, you know, ticket sales and all of that revenue generated kind of dictates what we can make from a salary standpoint. Whereas overseas, it's literally money out of a guy's pocket or money out of a sponsor's pocket. So it's a different world, and I don't know if it continues to be that way in Europe. I don't know how it can ever be even.
Do you approach this Olympic cycle differently because it could be the last Olympics for you?
No, regardless whether it was my first Olympics or my last, you approach it the same. I think, to be honest, now that I am at the end of my career, I think the worst mistake I can make is doing everything like, oh, this is the last time I'm going to do this, or oh, this is the last time I'm going to do that. I think that'll just mess with your head.
I mean, you see what like Derek Jeter's done and Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Do you have any desire to have like a farewell
tour?
I mean, what's your perspective on that take?
Yeah, no, the farewell tour in terms of retirement is interesting. And I've seen now a bunch of different retirements. The farewell tour, the just like drop the mic and leave. Then there's the halfway through, kind of give a heads up like, hey, by the way, you know, this last month's my actual last month. So I've seen it done different ways. I'm not sure what fits for me. I actually had a conversation with a bunch of other athletes, one being Ray Allen, because he kind of did the drop the mic thing, which for him worked, you know, and that's what he wanted. And it was interesting to hear his take. So I'll figure it out. When the time comes, I'll know what to do.
And then once the kind of any avenues you're kind of looking towards after career?
Yeah, you know, I've been doing commentating for ESPN. I really enjoy it. I really think that could be something that I put my time into and my energy into the same way I do with basketball. You know, right now I'm kind of split, not even. I'm like 75% basketball, 25% other. And I think commentating could be something that could be, you know, could take over that 75. And then if I really put my time and my heart into it, because I enjoy it that much.
Do you enjoy looking at this next challenge, or is it daunting a little?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, listen, I'm 35 and I'm going to have to start a new career. That's obviously a little daunting. But I think at the same time, it presents so many new challenges and a different schedule, which is actually, the thought of that is kind of nice. And basketball, you know, I said in there that basketball is a big part of my life, but not my whole life. And you know, that's been true since day one. And I always knew that I wasn't going to be able to play forever. So, you know, now that time's approaching, so I just got to figure it out.
And thoughts on UConn, obviously, we have to ask where
Yeah,
like this team, this particular season, and what Brianna Stewart's going for.
Yeah, I mean, this UConn team has an amazing opportunity. I mean, it's not very often that a UConn player or a UConn team gets to say they did something that no other UConn player did, no other UConn team did. So for them to try to go for that 4th championship in a row, it's definitely a quest. And as you can see, they're still figuring themselves out, but they have the talent clearly. And anytime you have Stewie on your team, you know, you got a pretty good shot.
Are you surprised? You were saying like going over the fights you guys used to have with Tennessee, and they've kind of fallen off.
Yeah.
Just surprised how UConn's been able to kind of keep that ball rolling for as long as they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to keep the level of play that high and be that consistent. It's not easy. And I even remember when UConn Coach Auriemma broke John Wooden's record. You know, everybody was like, oh, they're playing against bad competition, oh, this and that, and like trying to bring it down. It's like, to do anything that well for that long, I don't care who you are, where you are, what you're doing, that speaks to a level of consistency that not many people understand. I mean, he and the coaching staff get those players, whether they're up 1, down 1, up 30, down 30, to play the exact same way. That's not easy, you know. And it is too bad about the Tennessee rivalry. You know, it's a school that was always a powerhouse, and now they are kind of a little bit on a downward spiral. Maybe they should have kept the rivalry going.
And talk about, obviously you've been to the Champions Center. What have the changes you've seen on the UConn campus and just the college game?
Yeah, I mean, UConn's campus is so different from when I went there. I mean, looking back, it's like, how did they get us to go here? You know, when I think back to that campus, it was pretty bare there. But now it's obviously every school in the country has to compete with one another in terms of facilities and what's available. And UConn building that practice facility was just one step in that direction.
I was going to say, talking about Brianna.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just that you kind of went over it, the number 1 pick that you guys had this year.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I mean, we're so lucky to have gotten the number 1 pick. A lot of people in Seattle had their fingers crossed. She doesn't know it yet, but I think it's going to be a great place for her to continue to grow as a person, as a basketball player. It's a great franchise, and again, we're just so lucky to have a player of that caliber. You know, we've had one before in Lauren Jackson, who will probably go down as one of the best ever. And like I said inside, Stewie has a chance to make a mark very similar to that. And I'm glad that I'll be able to be a small part of it at the early stage.
So you were asking Dave during the Q&A
Yeah.
about what's next, and you mentioned coaching. I think a lot of people look at you as a leader.
Right.
But you gave an answer that made me surprised. Like, coaching's not first on the list.
Yeah,
Can
no.
you go into that why?
Yeah,
And also at the same time, how often are you asked about coaching?
I'm asked about coaching quite a bit, and the main reason why it's not first on my list is really more to do with, I guess, logistics, just the lifestyle of a coach, particularly a college coach. You know, the recruiting and the traveling, and you're away a lot. I feel like I already did that whole travel part. So it's those things. It's not the actual act of coaching that, you know, has it like knocked down on my list. It's just kind of the other stuff that comes with it.
But it's not completely ruled out.
No. Coaching's not completely ruled out. We'll see. Who am I to rule anything out? I'm about to be, you know, jobless here.